you're 40 still. So.
Well, I mean, what game do you think you're going to be playing when you're 40? When do you think you're going to stop playing games? What's the age? What's the cutoff age?
When you're out of high school and college.
You're a high school kid?
Yeah, I'm in high school. Yeah.
How old are you?
Why does it matter?
Well, I mean, you foresee yourself in the future quitting something you love, like video games? Do you not love video games? You just cruise through it.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a waste of time when you're that old. So.
Well, how do you know? You're not old yet. I mean, I can think of probably reasons that video games would be a waste of time for a high school kid, too. Do you have a 4.0? Are you in honor classes to get more than a 4.0?
No, but...
You know what I'm saying? There's more things you could be doing to improve your life than playing video games, too, right?
Yeah, you studying, not playing games.
Hey, just recreation, man. Having fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
All right, then.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, Honey Badger Arcade. My name is Brian, and I have a special series that I'm going to try and get through where I'm going to be speaking with various indie developers that participated in the Based GameJam. I was invited to be a part of it, but I wasn't able to because I was out of town visiting family. And so I thought, well, I would really like to help the cause in some way. So I thought platforming all of the people that participated and talking a little bit about, their background, their interest in this, and what they actually made, and maybe what they want to make in the future would be a good use of my time, considering I have 10 years of experience doing YouTube live content. So I am really, really honored to have our very first guest as part of this jam, Taylor Allen. So welcome, Taylor Allen, to my new series, basically, on the Based GameJam interviews. So how you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you. So I wanted to, basically get a little bit of your background before we get to the Game Jam thing. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? And why did you become interested in doing game development, or at least, participating in this jam?
Yeah, so I grew up playing video games, obviously. Mainly Spyro and Final Fantasy. That got me into games from a young age. So my father and mother were both artists, so first I was planning on being a concept artist for games. And I was going with that until about 22, and then I realized that if I wanted to get anything done, I needed to learn to make everything myself. Because I guess I'm just dissatisfied. I was dissatisfied with the games the industry was making. I didn't really want to make art for these games because they felt uninspired.
Around what time was this? I'll get an idea of what was the landscape of the gaming industry like at the time.
I can't remember. It was
how
just
long ago was it? What time period we talking? The 90s?
No, this is 2010.
Oh,
2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really like Doom and Vagrant Story, Final Fantasy. These older Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy Tactics. These older games, they're not too crazy, but they're just interesting to me. They have a very appealing, beautiful art style, interesting mechanics. And then in the AAA industry, you see the fifth sequel to Assassin's Creed or something, which, I mean, I don't hate in itself, but the fact that it just looked like the same thing over and over again with a slightly different coat of paint, it wasn't what I was interested in video games for.
Yeah, I think in the 2010s, there was this, it looked like it was starting to become a very derivative environment, where it was let's all make the new military shooter, and everyone wanted to be the sort of flagship military shooter, whether it was Call of Duty or Battlefield or Medal of Honor or whatever. And so everything does, and then you have a few gems maybe, but maybe they're not the kind of game you like. The first person shooter was the thing at that time. And you were talking about RPGs or adventure games, adventure platformers like Spyro. And those were, I think they were pretty unusual at that time.
They were just very creative too, because Spyro had all these strange places you could visit. I really loved that growing up. Yeah, it's just the safeness and kind of. I hate the remake stuff. That is the most.
You mean like when they remade
vapid
like all
thing
of these?
I can think of.
Yeah, sure.
Because the way I view remakes, there are some remakes that need to happen when a core part of a game is dysfunctional for whatever reason. Like Age of Mythology is a good example. I think the pathing in the original game is really, really bad. So I was actually very excited for them to remake it. But of course, they don't redo the pathing. They just take out some multiplayer elements, replace the art for no reason, and then call it a day.
Is it Age of what now?
Age of Mythology, it's an old RTS.
Oh, okay.
Had a very charming low poly art style, which they replaced with the usual airbrushed kind of meaningless art.
Yeah.
And
so
didn't fix anything. So.
Yeah, so it sounds like there was a lot, like the art direction, not the graphics, because obviously the graphics improved, but the art direction is where you think it's been really lacking.
Yeah, because the art direction is what matters. The graphics are just like a table that you can put the art direction on top of.
Right.
People have been obsessed with the table, kind of, but not thinking about what they're actually. They're obsessed with the foundation in a way, but not really thinking about what they're using it for. Yeah.
Okay, so that's very interesting because I can certainly speak to some of that. But let's go back to your. So you were seeing that like games were just becoming really derivative and dull, and there wasn't like a lot of risk taking. It was very safe. People were going with like sequels and remakes and remasters, right? So then like, what did you do after that? Like, how did you react?
I decided that I just needed to become better so that I could make things that would kind of approve what I thought, put it to the test, essentially. And so I started out using Unreal Engine, but I didn't really like it. It's just a very heavy engine, and I prefer to have very like lightweight games that run easily on older computers, bring people together that way. And also my computer's kind of a toaster, so it's
mine is mine is too, but
I really loved the simplicity of C and C++, so I tried to make my own engine for about 2 years, and I got decently far. I had like an ECS system, it's just like a different way of running your software so that it's more functional for when you have tons and tons of individual units, because I wanted to make an RTS style game. And
I have it on your screen. Are you talking about unfinished tactics game? I'm looking at your. I'm going to display this for the people watching. So right here we have this local developer doesn't know how to make tactics game, unfinished tactics game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can see like the bones of something kind of cool, And I mean, obviously, like Notch, I think, like when he created Minecraft, that's like a massive, massive thing right now, right?
Right.
So, anyway, so is that what you meant when you said you wanted to work on RTSs?
So the game I'm making in my free time it's a survival game where the AI is playing an RTS while you're playing as like a third-person survival game. So that's the kind of game I've been working towards. And that game was supposed to be a more classical tactics game, but in my 2 years making the game engine, I spent a lot of time learning about graphics, rendering, input systems, all the foundational stuff. But I realized doing that project, I didn't really know how to put a game together. I knew how to make all the stuff work on the computer, but actually like making abilities and characters and dialogue and all that, this was a bit beyond me. So after that, I was just working on that part of game development pretty much until this game jam.
Yeah. And I had a good question and I lost it, but it's okay. So let's how did you get involved with the game jam? How did you get involved with that?
I'm just working off of savings right now, so I just work all my time on my demo that I'm trying to put together for a publisher. And in my free time, once I'm done working every day, I like to listen to men my age complain about video games, so, which led me to Andy Pants. And then from his Discord, he pinged an announcement about the game jam, and I was like, oh, seems like a good way to test my skills I've been working on since that last one.
Yeah, so you kind of just jumped into this. So okay, for the people who are watching, let me put it on the screen here. I'm going to hide the website temporarily because I want you guys to see where is it? The source here. This game that's playing in the background is Blade of Aventine. Am I pronouncing that right? Aventine or Aventine? Aventine?
To be honest, I don't know. I didn't have time to look up correct pronunciation. It's one of the 7 hills of Rome.
Yeah, okay. It's a good-looking word. You know, some words just look good. That's a good-looking word.
I did actually choose it for a reason. It's because there's a temple to Minerva on that hill that disappeared at some point in the past, and we don't know why. So you were meant to... The temple that you start in is meant to be that temple. And then there's a temple of Diana off to the side. I had a grand plan for dialogue and storylines and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, that's cool. You know, men, they think about Rome a lot. So that's what we heard anyway. I got a super chat from Albert Nader Retro. Thank you. He gives us $2 Canadian, says, goof morning, guys. I think he meant to say good morning. Thank you, Albert. Good morning. Okay, so since you mentioned Andy Pants gaming, because I know I've watched his videos a few times too. I've been talking about this stuff since 2014, 2013. So that's around the time that you said that you were becoming disenchanted, you know. So yeah, I'm an old guy, but like I've been talking about this for a while. Things like, you know, the art direction and the laziness and the remakes and the sequels and the sort of like, you know, money leeching. I don't think that every time that there is like, you know, additional content like expansions or DLC is exploitative, but it does, like, a lot of times it gets very close, especially when you get into things like loot boxes and season passes and whatnot. But and obviously that's like, you know, just sort of like a natural consequence of any industry that gets really big. Then you get people who are just like, how do I use this to get rich? But what was it specifically about the games industry? Were there anything besides that that you related to or you resonated with that Andy Pants Gaming was talking about?
I think the modern games are pathetic. And when I found Andy Pants, I was particularly disgruntled about how hideous the people in Starfield looked, and also the ridiculous pronouns and everything in the game. It just, like, I was playing Morrowind multiplayer with my brother at the time, and just kind of thinking in my free time about, man, how far they have fallen. Like, good lord. Now they're making this. When I look at it, it just looks it's incredibly dull to me. I can't play games like that. It just doesn't look like my time is going to be rewarded. Starfield.
Oh, like Starfield, okay. Because you were talking about Morrowind, so I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah. Like, Morrowind looks so, like, strange and kind of enchanting. You want to play it to figure out what the heck is going on, in a way. And when you play it, you still don't really know what's going on. So it's very mysterious and difficult in that way, and that makes it a fun puzzle to solve. But these overly polished and just kind of, like, you've seen it a million times before. I don't really know how to describe it, but when I look at those games, it's like I've already played it. Yeah,
for sure. I think that I mean, if I can, like, I think the pronouns thing is just sort of like evidence of the real problem, which is this kind of what's happened to gaming is that people who have no interest in it have gotten involved. That's what I think. People who have no interest in it except to make money or to push their own careers forward have gotten involved with, you know, in an entertainment medium that used to be basically like exclusively for people who were passionate about that, right? Like, it was kind of like a man's space for young guys, more you say nerdy guys. I don't like that word, but it's intellectual, whatever, right? And they would want to get in that. And then you have these theater kids, because that's what they are. Theater kids get involved, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do this too." And of course, they pretend to like it, but they want to change it. And I say theater kids with no irony, because one of the things that I started seeing around 2012, 2013 was that video games were trying to be movies, and they were trying really hard to be movies. And I was like, well, we don't want them to be movies, because we already have movies. We want them to be video games, in the sense that, you as a player still have like, it's your story in a way, right? You're kind of like participating in it. So like for example, you can tell me if you agree or disagree. You said that you like Doom, and so there's a comparison to be made between games like Doom or Quake and like the sort of, COD games that came later, the Call of Duty games, which they're both first-person shooters, but the difference is the Call of Duty games became more and more cinematic over time, to the point where you're kind of on rails. Like they're saying, and they're giving you all of the instruction. It's not like a game where you pick it up and you're like trying to figure out what the controls are, as you go, because they're telling you, crouch to crouch, and they'll put an obstacle in front of you, so you have to crouch, or you can't proceed. Aim, and they'll like pause the game and let you aim at an enemy, and they'll tell you how to do it. Press this button to shoot them. And it's like by the time you've done the tutorial, you're like 20% done with the game story on top of that. So it's become a movie, and that's actually increased the budgets a lot too, right? Like, because if you get like Kevin Spacey to be in your game, he's going to expect to be paid because he's a Hollywood actor. So the game's going to cost more to make, which means you're going to have to find a way to make that back on the customers. So I don't know. I just think that it's, and obviously there's the politics, which, we know is happening. There's no denying that. Some people don't, like, they say, oh, games shouldn't be political at all or whatever. But I mean, they're all messaging, right? Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you agree or disagree?
No, I do, yeah. I think it's completely that people who don't care have gotten involved and are largely leading these companies too. I think it's obvious to anyone who does care about games that there are people who don't care who are leading the design of these things, because they're trash. They're just trash. 90% of the stuff that's being pushed out, and 90% of the stuff that has millions of dollars in it is just trash.
Yeah,
it's garbage.
Absolutely. And it's like, basically, I think that film and music were historically, and television, were historically used to push a kind of like, to affect culture, to push messaging. Video games were free of that. When it was early on, the technology was so simple, you couldn't really do much with it. So you had like, oh, well, there are, alien invaders, you have to shoot them. Or, you have to eat all the dots and clear the map, and then you move on to the next one, and there are ghosts of different colors trying to kill you. And you get 3 lives, 3 chances to finish it. But once the tech got better and better, then people tried to add more and more story elements, and then you got to the point where the industry actually seemed like a feasible way to, it became like the biggest entertainment industry in history. It's bigger than film, television, music put together. It's bigger than all of those things. And so now you get the same people who are interested in messaging, they get involved, and they're going to use it. And fortunately, when I talked about this 10 years ago, a lot of people didn't want to, face that reality. But it seems that these days, more gamers are realizing what is actually going on. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really like. I'm not sure that any kind of messaging really creates good media, because I feel like good media kind of takes you away, or allows you to experience something that you couldn't normally. Like the best game, in my opinion, is something like Little Big Planet, which lets you.
Little Big Planet's great.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no kind of messaging trying to sneak its way into your brain in that game. It's just a game about you And that's what good games are about. They're about you and the people that you want to play with, and your creativity and your decisions, constant choices to make. Yeah, you're not really thinking about messaging or politics when you play that game. It takes you away to a place where you just be creative, hang out with your friends.
Yeah, yeah. So did you have to you taught yourself how to essentially, use or work with specific engines or even build your own?
Yeah.
How did you do that? Did you just like take a class, or did you read some books, or just take tutorials?
I got books, but honestly, I didn't find them too helpful. I'm the kind of person who learns by just experimenting with things, started getting my hands on them. So what ended up working the best for me was just a combination of YouTube tutorials, written tutorials, because there's a lot of when you start to get more advanced in programming, there's a lot of stuff that you can't find anywhere except like weird back alleys on the internet, some like blog posts that some fairly advanced programmer wrote while they were banging their head against the thing, and then you can get some information from that, experiment with it in your own thing, try and get it to work, learn from that. I take a lot of pen and paper notes because I find it helps things stick more than just typing them.
Yeah, writing with your hand. Yeah,
a lot of repetition and experimenting, and then I pretty much just do one thing until I get fed up with it, and then I go. So it's like a cycle. Like I experiment until I feel like I'm going to lose it because I'm not making any progress. Then I study some written or YouTube tutorials. Usually I have to watch them on double speed because I always want to. Then talk pretty slowly, and then repeat back and forth, and you start to put things together. And I try to also make the things I program into little packages that are easy to use for another project, or when I like switch engines, I can look at the little package and figure out how to put it in the new engine. Because I don't know how much everyone knows about programming, but the languages are fairly similar. Actually, they're just like different words for doing the same thing. So once you learn one language, you pretty much know them all. It's just about learning the different words.
I have no experience with that, but I kind of intuitively figured that, Unity, Unreal, whatever, they may be different, like you said, terms or different words, but they're fundamentally the skeleton or the foundations are got to be similar, right?
Yeah.
So
they're very similar.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a couple super chats, and I want to talk about the game and the game jam. So Albert Nader Retro, again, gives us $2 Canadian and says, "Good morning, Aventine. R.I.P. Robin Williams." I think he's been gone for a while, but yeah, sure. RIP Robin Williams. And then he gives another $2 Canadian and says, "Brian, don't forget to email Fear the Beardo." Thank you for that. All right, so let's talk about your game and Blade of Aventine. So I'm going to switch here so that you guys can see the game. I'm going to turn off the source again and also do that here. So what's the idea? Like why did you make, what is this game, and what is your inspiration?
So I wanted to make a game. So, okay, going into the jam, I was actually going to make a first-person shooter that was a sequel to my first game jam game, Rage of Aventine. I figured it would, because that's like a very game jammy game, and I thought it would be funny, because at the time I made that, I didn't really have as much experience 3D modeling, so I had to use a bunch of assets from other artists that I could piece together. And I thought it would be funny to make a sequel to it, where I just spin the story in whatever direction the theme for this game jam is. But when they announced it, it was Rome, and Rage of Aventine is specifically supposed to be a ridiculous fantasy universe, not a real place. So I was like, okay.
Okay, that explains it, because when I went to the website, I was like, all these games are Roman. And but yeah, now I understand. It's so they have a theme, and everyone tries to do something in the theme. Yeah, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So once I learned it was Rome, I've been wanting to try my hand at making a tower defense with a character that you control in some form, because I'm a big fan of pixel junk monsters and dungeon defenders, and I'm sure anyone who knows those games will recognize them in mind. But yeah, so I made it where you have to build your towers out of blocks, because I wanted to do that since I actually first played Little Big Planet. You had this little cube of different materials you could make. I loved that. So I wanted to make a game where you stacked up blocks and made them into towers. I wanted it to be a little more nuanced, where like the different blocks you used and what order would change the stats of the tower and something like that. Or maybe like how many blocks you piled up would change how tall the base of the tower was to have more range or something. But I had to simplify a lot for the game jam. I realized making such a complex system would result in not having much gameplay.
Do you think you could have done it if you had the time?
Oh yeah. It just
For sure.
taken time.
Okay.
It would have been. It would have made the game more complicated, so it would have required a more complicated tutorial to explain what the heck is going on, and it would have required a more complicated balancing process. By just reducing it to 3 towers, it was much easier to balance, because the game has to be difficult. It can't be easy, especially for a game jam. When it's for a game jam, I view it as kind of like those old games, the very, very old games like Game Boy Colors. They wanted it to last you a while, so they made it brutally difficult to make sure that you got your time out of it.
Yeah. Thanks for the sub, Soul Dad. Really appreciate it. Be sure to check back in, because we're going to be doing more. I'm going to be talking to as many people as I can that were involved in this. Okay, so yeah, it kind of was. So this is my playthrough, playing in the background, and at first I sucked. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, and because I don't have any experience with tower defense games either. I think I wanted to get into Dungeon Defenders because I heard it was co-op, and that's my jam. I love playing co-op games, but I couldn't find anybody, so I never ended up trying it. But I did ultimately figure it out, and it really is pretty straightforward, and I won. So, like, or at least the first wave, like, like whatever, the first level, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's cool. So, yeah. Anyway, so did you actually, like, as far as these assets that are in the game, like, did you make the art for these?
Yeah, I made everything.
Yeah. And so, like, did you, for art, where you said that, you wanted to be like concept artist originally. So what's your background in art? Is it self-taught or?
Yeah, it was self-taught. Yeah. I took classes in high school, but I mean, you know how public school is.
Yeah, I do. I drew, and like I literally went, like I wanted to major in art, but there were no majors for art at the school I went to. So I had to major in something close, and I went into architectural drafting, which was the most like it was to me was like anti-art, because there was no creativity. It was like very, very structured. At least that's how I felt.
The only thing high school art made me feel was that I didn't want to do art, and I stopped doing art for a while after high school, because, as I've said, I'm the kind of person I need to get my hands on things and see them come to life or work through experimentation. So I didn't actually like art growing up until I realized I could use it for characters and scenery and everything in video games, and seeing it come to life reignited my interest in art.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long did it take you to make this game?
We had 2 weeks originally, and then there was a 1 week extension. It was like just under 3 weeks. So
and you were right under the gun there, like you got done right at the end.
I turned it in an hour before. I don't know if I'd call it done, but done enough.
Yeah.
Done enough to play it. Yeah.
Oh no! I thought it was. I mean, are you happy with the final product? Okay. No one is happy with their work. But
so I think it came out very polished. I was really happy with the fact that I haven't gotten a single crash report from anyone.
Yeah, I didn't have any
the
problems.
The balance was right. It first level was decent. If you don't know what you're doing, the first level is really hard. If you do know what you're doing, the first level is a joke. Second level is pretty frantic. The third level is even more frantic. So, but they are all possible. So yeah, I think I did pretty good there. But I wish I could have maybe put in a few more towers or made it a little more complicated, just so it wasn't so puzzle gamey.
Well, considering you got it done in just under 3 weeks too, that's pretty impressive. I mean,
Thank you.
I wish some big devs could get something out on time. So yeah, and how does the game jam work in terms of like who the judges are and what are the criteria and all that?
Yeah. So there were two. I don't know what the criteria for the judges is exactly, because I mean the prize money's nice, but I do join game jams to test my skills and see where I'm currently at. So I mean, I care, but I don't really care as long as I've improved on my last work, which I have. So so they had two community judges that essentially decided which 5 games would go to the final judges to decide the placements, and then the final judges was Andy Pants, I know that, and then Ian
Crossgrove or something. I don't know. Yeah. His name is familiar, but I don't know where he's from. Like I don't know.
They were really cool. They played through the whole first level, and they had the intended experience. So I was pretty happy with that. Because the intended experience is that you go into the first level, you talk to the ghost, maybe accidentally punch a few, and then miss what they were going to say, and then you
I did that.
yeah, and then you die horribly to the waves that you weren't quite prepared for, and then the second go through, you're like, all right, we're serious now, and then maybe you explore a little bit, find some secrets, get like a crazy defense up, and then wipe out the first level, and yeah, so that's kind of the intended experience.
Yeah. I got swarmed by Brutuses. I call them Brutuses. I don't know what they are, but they're like guys in togas with knives.
Senators. Yeah.
Oh, they're called senators?
Yeah. The idea is you're playing as Commodus, who was a very hated Roman emperor. And when he had just sort of taken on the mantle from his father after his father had died, it was like a few years after that, a senator showed up at an entertainment event. It was at maybe in the Coliseum, and yelled, "This is what the Senate sends you." And so that's my voice for the senators.
Oh, I know they were. It sounded like they were saying some stuff in Italian. I couldn't make it out.
Yeah,
so.
they say "Donatus temiti," I think is it, and that means this is what the Senate sends you in Latin.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
That's very creative. I like that. Yeah. So, how well did you do in the game jam?
I got 3rd place.
You got 3rd place. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to try any of the other games?
Yeah, I played most of them.
And what do you think about them? How do you What do you think about the other people that were competing?
Yeah, I think a few of them were pretty good. The guys who did Lower the Gates, the art was really great in that game. I was very impressed with the art.
Yeah, I have them on my list here. I'm gonna talk to those guys probably next time. They got 2nd place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there was like one other person who got 1st place then, because I mean this is pretty impressive considering. Roman a day.
1st place went to Biggest Dickus Architectus.
Oh. I am familiar with Biggest Dickus because on some other content creators, like on YouTube and stuff, I watch. He is a frequent attendee. Like I'll see him in the chat, and his name is kind of hard to, ignore. So unless there's another Biggest Dickus out there, which is certainly possible.
No, I'm pretty sure that the developer wasn't going by Biggest Dickus. I think the game was just a reference to Monty Python movie.
Ah, I see. I see. Okay. Well, yeah, no, pretty cool. So is this how many game jams you've been in? Like 3? It looks like.
3. Mhm.
So, and this is something you get, like a lot of enjoyment. Like, what do you get out of doing this? Is it just like testing your skills?
Just skill.
Is it networking with other people or anything like that?
Not so far, although I've met a lot of very great people from this jam. But the other jams, the communities were more. So the second one was very corporate, the tactics game one. So
Yeah.
didn't really get to connect with anyone on that one. And the first one was, it was a bit of a mess. The community was a bit of a mess. And
so these are not hosted by the same group. It's not the Based GameJam. These are different jams.
Yeah, I was moving around between jams. And then after that second jam, I stopped for a while because it just seemed like all the jams were really... I don't know, I just wasn't feeling any of the jams, I guess. They weren't grabbing me anymore. I was kind of disappointed. When I saw because when I joined the jam, it was called the Conservative Game Jam. I was like, well, that seems like a nice Christian place to meet people. So and to test my skills, so I figured I would join.
Are you Christian?
No, I'm not.
No? Oh, okay. What? You
I don't believe in lying, but
you don't what?
I don't believe in lying, so yeah, I'm not Christian, but I do enjoy the presence of Christians.
Oh, like you feel at home around Christians or a little bit?
Yeah, we grew up Christian.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a recent convert. I was just wondering because, like, I spoke to, I just think it's interesting because whether you are religious or not, I think that people are sort of, well, especially a lot of young men, they're like gravitating towards, that, like they just like that it's kind of, the people are, well, they're just good people, or at least they try to be. Nobody's perfect, but. Yeah. I think there's and it's nice that you're not going to get preached at about, whatever, like something else. So like, do you have any, like, I don't know, ambitions of the things that you want to make? Are you going to keep doing this, or is this kind of like a hobby or side interest?
No, it's not a hobby for me. This is my life. Yeah, I'm gonna make this survival game, possibly make a game with friend that I met during the jam as well. That would be an RPG.
Ooh.
I do end up going forward with that. Yeah, neither of us are really a fan of just like redoing something that's already been done. So we're gonna play around with making some kind of weird RPG. Probably.
So if you do an RPG, just without getting into like the setting or whatever, because I know we can get into that, but I'm curious, like, do you prefer turn-based RPGs, tactical RPGs, ARPGs, or sort of real-time? Well, what is it? It's like real-time. Like more RPGs these days are doing that. I think Dragon Age and Inquisition was like that, or somewhat. So, like, what would you do?
Have you played Final Fantasy 12?
Yes. It has like almost like MMO mechanics. Yeah.
So my RPG, it's either going to be like Final Fantasy 12, like an MMO, like Diablo 2, or it's going to be a fighting game.
A fighting game? That's not an RPG. You mean like a
with RPG mechanics? But I love fighting game mechanics. Like
I love fighting games. I'm
animation cancels.
Yeah, I'm really into fighting games. Was very disappointed with the direction that Street Fighter took, because that was one of my favorites franchises. So, but yeah, I'm big into. What are some of your favorite fighting games? So
I like the kind of non-standard fighting games. I really like Black Desert Online and Dungeon Fighter Online. I don't know if you ever played either of those.
Dungeon Fighter Online. That sounds really familiar.
They're both.
I know Black Desert. I thought that was like an MMO though.
Yeah, they're both MMOs, but they're fighting. They're essentially third-person fight. Well, Black Desert Online is the third-person fighting game. Dungeon Fighter Online is 2D, so it's a side fighting game.
Is that like Guild War? I think Guild Wars may have been like that, or like maybe like a Souls-like. Is that what you mean? Like
no, it's got like a character generally has around like 20 moves, and you've got this massive hotbar with different cooldowns, and you're kind of like there's like different combos for stringing things together, certain animation cancels that make certain combos work. So it's very complicated. The PvP is pretty wild, and I really enjoy that stuff. It's very fun. It's like World of Warcraft with these like complicated rotations that you do in World of Warcraft, but with more fighting game DNA. So you have to
okay,
watch your positioning and your juggles and
there was this
combos.
There was this game made by the development team that later went on to make Sifu. I think it was called Evolver or something like that, and it was Absolver. That's right. Yeah, is that potentially another example? Because I know that was an online.
I love that game. Yeah, I was gonna do a combat system for my survival game actually similar to that one, where each move you use changes your stance, but it's just going to be left and right stance. So it'd be closer to Souls-like, but with a little bit of fighting game in it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that sounds really cool. So, and you said that you met someone at the jam, and you guys are gonna you're talking about collaborating.
Yeah.
That's very cool. What are and I hope that I hope that you guys make some progress, and if you do, and you want somebody to gas you up, I can do that, because I think that but honestly, I believe that this is why I'm doing this series, because we shouldn't be waiting for the games industry to change for us. We're gonna have to promote people that are actually going to make the change, right? And then we're going to support them. And sometimes it's going to be a bigger developer. Like there are some AA devs that are doing, really good work, and they're trying things. And a lot of times the guys that work at those companies used to work for much bigger companies, like Blizzard or Activision or Ubisoft, and then they got fired or they got laid off because of Me Too movement or something, because they weaponize that stuff to get people fired and then replace them. So there's a lot of talented people that don't have, they're kind of they're jobless, right? So anyway.
Yeah, I actually applied to all these big companies, just names, and they wouldn't even interview me. So
yeah, you're too male, pale, and stale. I mean, that's so. I mean, but it's okay. You're gonna be in a better environment with the people that you're working with now. I think that this is the start of something big. Plus, a lot of these big AAA companies, they're losing money hand over fist. Have you seen some of these massive flops that should have been essentially printing money that have come out?
Yeah, it's enjoyable to keep up with through the YouTubers that talk about these things.
Yeah.
Because it's so ridiculous.
It is.
They think they can stop hiring people based on how good at their job they are and succeed somehow. I don't know what metric they're planning on succeeding in, but you need people who are good at their job.
Well, I think that part of it is that they think the brand recognition that's how they operate, right? They go after the biggest brand, and then they attach themselves to it, and then they put out a crappy product that has the brand on it. They're like, "Don't you want this? It's the brand you like." Look at, and then of course people are like, "No, this isn't anything like the thing that I fell in love with." Well, you could say Assassin's Creed. I think that I like the first couple of those, but I stopped.
I love the first one.
I like the first one and the second one. But the second one, there were some things about it that I didn't. Yeah, Ezio. Yeah, I did have problems with the second one because then they started adding in this. What is it? These features that just bloat the length. It's collect all of the pigeons, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. I'll just play through the story. The story should be enough, right? And after that, when they made the third one and it was more Ezio, I was like, because now I can see that you're not going to be as creative as you were when you started this franchise. Plus, Ubisoft is they have sort of abandoned franchises that people really liked, like Splinter Cell, for example, and Prince of Persia. I think they tried to bring that back a couple of times, but they didn't get it quite right, I guess. I mean, except for the remake of the Is it called Sands of Time? But anyway, I digress. My point is that a lot of these big AAA companies are running out of they're losing money because they think that they can just use their brand name to sell products, and they don't have a good team, and they have forgotten the importance of merit. And I think that that's why they're going to lose, because they're going to have like the brownest, gayest, most female cast of people,
Lord.
but they're not going to make good products though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's, I mean, I'm not saying that those people couldn't make anything good, but the problem is, if you make that your priority and you abandon everything else that makes it important, you're not going to have a good product. And that's what they've done. Like Unknown 9, for example, some people are trying to defend it, saying, well, it's not bad because it's woke. It's bad because of all these bugs and glitches and gameplay problems and all this. And it's like, yeah, but how come they got the woke part right and the other stuff wrong? Like, why is it Starfield launched a buggy mess with all kinds of issues, but the pronouns are intact? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's about priorities. Like, what is the most important thing, and then go down from there. And I think that they miss that. And I think what people want is just something that's fun, right? They want something that's got. I mean, I appreciate really good art direction. And it doesn't mean it has to have like the most cutting edge graphics. Does that make sense?
Yep, I completely agree. Yeah, for me, when I'm making a game, I make it with colored cubes first to make sure it's fun, and then I make the art to make sure it's beautiful to look at as well. But the fun comes first, and then making sure it's beautiful. So I want to create beautiful games.
Yeah.
And the beauty doesn't have anything to do with fidelity. It's all about direction.
Absolutely. It's all about art direction, silhouettes, color, shape, all of those things. Cameras, if you're using fixed cameras, a good camera angle is helpful too. I'll never forget when I played the original Silent Hill, and you go down that one alleyway and the camera tilts, to like add to the drama. And I was like, whoa, this is creepy, right? So what do you? And I forgot to mention too, this Blade of Aventine. This Blade of Aventine is actually co-op, right? You could play up to 4 players.
Yeah,
split screen. Yeah,
that's one of the things I've packaged up that I was telling you about. Figured out the map for split screen, so it's very easy to add to any game.
So you can just connect a bunch of controllers to your PC and play 4-player split screen.
Yeah.
And I assume that makes the game easier.
Ridiculously easy, but it's fun. You can beat each other up and mug each other for your money, because you can hit each other with your little scepters.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And are the 4 Commoduses, are they like different colors to like tell them apart?
Yeah, their capes change color. Originally they didn't. My sister complained she didn't know who she was mugging, so I added cape colors so you know who you're mugging.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate that. I like co-op games, and I like fighting games a lot. So what are you, out of curiosity, what are you playing right now? Like in terms of like, what games are you into in the moment?
So I have not been able to play Dungeon Fighter Online or Black Desert Online ever since I switched to Linux a few years back. And I've been very sad because I haven't been able to play the fighting games. So the friend I met during the jam, he showed me this game called My Hero Ultra Rumble. Just like
My Hero what?
Ultra Rumble.
Oh, it's like based on the anime My Hero Academia.
You know it. Yeah.
I've never played it, but I know about.
I've never watched the anime. It seemed a little not for me. But it's a really competent fighting game stuck in a.
Is it kind of like an arena
transaction battle royale? Yeah.
Sure. Is it like an arena game where you kind of like run around? Because I never played that one, but I know that there are games like that, especially like anime licensed one. Battle royale. Okay.
Very traditional battle royale. You're in the map, slowly shrinks. You get
no, that's cool. When you said Dungeon Fighter, I thought about this game called DNF Duel, but it's not that.
That's a fighting game based on the MMO.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Okay, cool. That's like the Grand Blue. So there was a game based on a RPG, Grand Blue
Yeah.
Fantasy, I think, or I don't know.
There's multiple, but
Yeah, there's like
I've
stuff like
heard of that
that.
one.
So okay, so you did check out that game. Anything else? I guess you just been really busy.
Yeah, I've been working for the past 3 weeks, almost without sleep.
You have a
Before
job.
that,
You
I
have a
was-
job outside of the game stuff, then.
No, not right now.
Oh, okay. So you've been
just
working
working
on
on my
this game
demo.
jam. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
All right.
I was
Go on.
playing Dark Souls though before the
Yeah.
jam started. I was playing Dark Souls with my brother. We were playing through
The original one, or just like
all of them. We started with Dark Souls 3 because he was already started on that one. But
Yeah.
Dark Souls 1 has always been my favorite.
what do you think about the Dark Souls games? Do you like the art
Great.
direction in that?
Oh yeah, I love it. Especially
Yeah.
the first game. The first game to me has the most solid art direction. After
Yeah.
that, it gets a little wispy, a little I don't know, particle effecty. I really like the kind of dirty, grounded look of the first one. All these like dirty textures on everything.
What's your favorite area in Dark Souls 1?
No,
Or you can just describe it
Yes.
if you don't remember what it's called.
no, I know what all the areas are called. I guess it
It's
would
like-
be the Undead Burg.
Undeadburg?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a thing for really good starting areas, and that
Oh, yeah.
starting area is so good. It's perfectly difficult. Like every corner is some kind of trap that's trying to teach you an important lesson for the rest of the game. So when you're new to that game, you're going through that starting area dying constantly. But once you are experienced, it's like a cakewalk. It's perfect.
Yeah.
starting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I think that Dark Souls gets a bad rap. It's really not
Oh,
hard.
really?
So
Well, I completely agree
for-
because Dark Souls is a game that has a lot of lessons it wants to teach you, and it will kill
Mhm.
you if you don't learn the lessons. That's it. That's really it. But it is teaching you the lessons. It's coming
it's
up to you
humbling.
and like, yeah.
yeah, it's humbling. Like a lot of
Right in
people
that
want to
first
go
level.
in and I think it actually shows how much gaming has changed that people are saying that about this because I think games used to be more along those lines where
Mhm.
you play early levels in Super Mario Brothers and they're teaching you so that when you get later in the game you're more competently able to get through it. So I think it's just really good game design to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, my only thing
Yeah,
about Dark Souls 1 is unfortunately they kind of ran out of time and you could see that the ending is a little bit rushed, but what you agree?
Oh yeah, the latter
Yeah.
half. God, that bed of chaos. That's
Yeah,
usually where
yeah.
my runs of Dark Souls 1 ends. When,
Yeah,
when that thing has
Lost Izalith, yeah.
when that thing has thrown me into the abyss for like the 5th time in a row, that's usually where I'm like, all right, this game is really good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I would have
until
liked
a point.
It's true. I would have loved to have seen what they actually had in mind if they had the time to finish it.
Right,
I think that it would have been
that's-
just as good as like all of the older areas,
Yeah.
So
and that's exactly where a remake would be nice, but of course
didn't
some
do
other
that.
studio remakes the game and all they
Yeah.
do is mess with the netcode a bit, which in some areas is appreciated, but they still didn't fix the backstabbing from the front. And then they
Yeah.
just make the textures look a little tacky by making them HD where they didn't need to be. Because the thing these companies don't quite realize is that not all textures need to be very high definition. Sometimes a texture being low definition actually covers up inadequacies in the model that the texture is on.
yeah. All right. Marin Riberick says the dragon butts make no sense. Yeah, like I said, incomplete. They just filled an area. They put a lot of lava in it. They gave you a ring, and they were like, "Okay, just go." I mean, you
That
can tell
part
it was
where you-
broken because the Titanite demon there stays there after you kill him. So people farm the Titanite demon where normally they would stay dead. It
The
was
part
just
where you
not
come up
finished.
on the cliff and you see the 5 Taurus demons in just this big empty space standing, like
Yeah,
perfectly still. That part
Yeah.
kills me. Like that is so in development, like debug looking.
exactly.
It's just so sad, but kind of hilarious.
Yeah. All right, I got another super chat, and then we will wrap it up, I guess. So, Albernated Retro gave us $10 Canadian. Says Trump voice, please. Okay. Blade of Aventine. Haven't played it, but I hear it's a fun game, entertaining, great, excellent, best game ever. I have a feeling it's going to be huge, huge. It just needs a wall. Actually, yeah, a wall would be good around the, like, so that because you're kind of staring out into the expanse. It's very weird and like ethereal, and I but yeah. Martin Roderick says all other areas are great to me. Yeah, I think that like it's got a lot of really good spots. I like the woods in in Dark Souls 1, the woods area, the undead parish, the big church, Anne Orlando. They're all pretty great, and they did a really good job with that. So, but anyway, do you have anything else you want to say to the audience or whatever before I end the show?
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to say that the best thing you can do in times like this is just focus on your own skills and don't worry so much about what other people are doing.
Yeah. Oh, New Londo Ruins is great. The ghosts. Anyway,
I always run down there.
Yeah, the ghosts and those what are they? I forget what they're called. They're like these knights they're like Death Knight looking guys. They have skull faces. Anyway, I like that stuff. It's very Frazetta fantasy-ish. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, no, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it, and congratulations on getting third place. Is that like did you do that well in previous jams?
No, I got disqualified in my first jam, and the second jam I didn't finish. So yes, best one so far. I got disqualified in the first one because you could look around freely. Apparently that was not.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, congratulations on your success, and if you guys want, like, people can just go to your itch.io page, right, and they can try it out themselves. Yeah. So I put a link to it in the description. Linux. Yeah, it'll play on your Windows or Linux machine. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess we'll be on the lookout for whatever your next big project is.
All right. Great.
All right. Well, stay in touch with us. Or me, this is just my channel. And thanks so much for coming on the show. And thank you guys for joining me on this. Let us know what you think about Taylor's work and check out the game. It's called Blade of Aventine, and it is Roman themed, which I know is appealing to a lot of you guys. So, go ahead and check it out. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of my series, talking to people that participated in the Game Jam. Long live Vivian, and we'll talk to you all in the next one.
Broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. Yeah! And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.